Hey everybody, it's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 11 4 key game picks. Before we talk about week number 11, obviously it was quite a week 10 we had. A couple of things that only came to mind in week number 10. Obviously, everybody's still, as I record this video, the time of this video, everybody's still talking about the game between the Vikings and the Bills. Obviously, definitely was. This game could be in debate for possibly game of the year. I mean, this game had everything. It had great catches. It had miscues. It had just an unbelievable fourth quarter. I mean, if you're going to talk about that game, obviously you got a couple things that had to come in mind and all that. I mean, Minnesota going into that game, I mean, everybody had picked the Bills to beat the Vikings, but it's just unbelievable the fact that the way that game transpired late in the game, the Bills coming up with a big fourth down stance against Minnesota. You could assure that they were going to win that game, and then Josh Allen fumbles in the end zone, giving the Vikings a touchdown and giving them the lead. Josh Allen luckily was able to drive them back for a game-time field goal. And then in overtime, Minnesota field goal, and then Josh Allen red zone an interception. You got to wonder, Bills Mafia fans, you got to wonder, something is not right with Josh Allen. I don't know what it is. He already blew his chance at an MVP, which really, if you're a Bills Mafia, you shouldn't even care about an MVP. Your goal really is the Super Bowl. Getting a Vince Lombardi trophy. That should be the number one thing right now. And that's the one. I kind of feel like Josh Allen is doing way too much. They really desperately needed a running game, and that's really what killed them in the game against Minnesota. Minnesota was able to run the ball more effectively than Buffalo did. Defense-wise, they did everything they could. I mean, they busted their tails, just to keep the Vikings out of the end zone. And obviously, a lot of offensive miscues by the Bills offense just killed them. It's really tough to say right now whether the Vikings won that game or the Bills choked that game away. I would say it's a combination of both. The Vikings really played their tails off in that game, and they are to be respected. They're currently 8-1 right now, and they deserve it. This is a team that nobody is paying attention to, and maybe if you're a Viking fan, that's a good thing, because you don't want that much attention as much as the Eagles have been getting more attention. Even though the Eagles lost to the Commanders, now that their undefeated season is over, really hopefully that'll wake up the Eagles now, just focusing in now more on finishing down the stretch. And I think the other one right now, and the other thing I mentioned is the two things. I've talked about two things. Obviously, the other one I wanted to get into was the Cowboys and the Packers. Cowboys blowing a 14-point lead, giving Aaron Rodgers and the Packers new life in that game. Not only that pretty much may have saved their season, given the way that the schedule now kind of does favor a little bit more of the Packers now. They do have some tough games coming up. You still have to play one more time against the Vikings, and that game's not going to be easy. Just a big-time question marks whether or not if that Cowboys team is ready to start getting on a run, given the fact that they haven't played the Eagles. They have to play the Eagles one more time. And knowing full well, you still have to play the Giants one more time. And Washington one more time. And you got to wonder how this is going to play out. It's really tough to say right now. But if I look at what's currently the best team right now in all of the NFL going into Week 11, it's got to be the Kansas City Chiefs. They've already submitted themselves now as the favorite now in the AFC, given how the Bills have played a little bit poorly the last two games. Too many things went on in Week 10. I wish I could talk about everything, but I better get to my picks because this video is already 4 minutes in. And let's talk about week number 11, shall we? All right, let's begin with key game number 1. It is the Tennessee Titans versus the Green Bay Packers. Tannehill, 19 of 36, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Luckily, they had to come from behind to beat the Broncos. Now, Rodgers in that 14-point comeback, 14 of 20, 224 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Big-time key for this game definitely has got to be Henry. Obviously, Tannehill barely coming back from injury. His stats don't look all that. I mean, 255 yards is pretty good. Not that bad. But I just think, to me, you just got to get that running game going. The running game was effective last week for the Packers against the Cowboys, and I think the Tennessee Titans need to do the same thing to the Packers. Take a lesson right there. Cowboys did not have much of a running game because Ezekiel Elliott didn't play last week. But if you get Henry and you get him going and run it down the defensive throats of the Packers, you have a shot. You have a shot at being Aaron Rodgers in this game. But I don't know. The thing about Aaron Rodgers, we thought he'd be left for dead, and you would think right now, look, look, they're still under 500, and they still have a ways to go in order to get back to 500 football. It's very tough to say who comes out of this game because the way I look at it right now, the Packers need this game more than the Titans do. Titans still have an edge in the AFC South. A lot of it's going to come, can Aaron Rodgers and that Packers really keep the offense going? Obviously, I know they're missing some key wide. I know they don't have the talent on wide receivers and all, but the way they played like a team last week, they could be a force to be reckoned with if they continue getting on a winning streak. It's a tough pick here, and a lot of people say the Titans more than likely probably will win this game, but I'm going to go the other way around. I think the Packers win this game here. I think the Packers are starting to get the groove that they needed, especially playing very hard against the Cowboys last week and all. I don't think this game will be a blowout whatsoever and all that. This might be probably another decent Thursday night game because this is a game the Packers desperately need again because they're trying to keep pace mostly for a playoff spot because that's all it is right now. I don't think they have a realistic chance of winning the NFC North division. Tennessee right now, even if they lose, they still have an edge in the AFC South right now because the rest of that division is playing so poorly. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll definitely come down to Mason Crosby. It'll definitely be by 3 points. I'm going to go with the Packers in this one here. I think the Packers will beat the Titans, but it'll be a very, very tough physical game this time around because the Titans have a running game, and I can see Derrick Henry running through that defense here to give the Titans a chance in this game. But I'm going to pick the Packers here. I think the Packers get back on a roll. They get things going here. I'm going to pick the Packers over the Titans. All right, let's go to key game number 2. Going into the AFC East Division. Second meeting between the Jets versus the Patriots. Zach Wilson, before the bye week, he went 18 of 25, 154 yards, 1 touchdown, and no interceptions in the big victory against the Bills 2 weeks ago. Mac Jones in his last game, they were also on a bye. He went 20 of 30, 147 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions in his last game. Big question marks now for the Jets. The way they got outplayed in that game against New England. Is the defense more prepared this time around to find a way to get some pressure on Mac Jones? That first meeting that they had in that game, he was barely pressured at all. And given the fact that the Patriots offense really did a good job on that Jet defense, basically putting them off rhythm and being able to get short passes going. This is definitely one of the things that the Jets need to do. Their defense needs to be more ready for this game. And Zach Wilson cannot turn the ball over like he did last time against the Pats. I think he had about 2 turnovers in that game. This is where Zach Wilson needs to really make a statement against the Patriots here. This is why this game will be much more tougher for the Patriots. I don't think that first game against the Jets won't be I think it's going to be more competitive than that first game. You got to wonder how much does New England have that they can really start to get back to get on a roll and start making a case for them to be contenders to win the division in the AFC East. A lot of things have to happen for the Jets. Their defense has to be more prepared this time, and they got to put pressure on Mac Jones in order to win this game. And Zach Wilson cannot turn the ball over. That's the key. The Jets need to get their running game going as well because they didn't run all that much on the Pats in the first meeting. So this is a big key game for both these two teams because this is basically the jockeying for position in the AFC in the AFC playoff picture. Who do I see winning this game? I think this time around, the Jets win this time. It's a tough one here. Very tough. Expect a very close game here. It'll be much closer than it was in the first meeting. I think the Jets defense will be more prepared this time. If they can get to Mac Jones, I think it's going to be a very, very close game. I think it's going to be low scoring in this one here. It'll probably be like a 14-10 type of game. I don't think it'll be high scoring in this one here. I think defense is going to be key in this game for both these two teams. But I think the Jets defense will be much more prepared this time around to get to Mac Jones. And that's one of the reasons why I think the Jets win this time around. So it's a tough one here. Tough pick in this one here. Treat this with caution. Treat it with a grain of salt because it's a tough one here. I think the Jets barely beat the Pats in this one here. I think they get their payback this time. It's going to be a close game. Should be a good one in Foxborough. But I'm going to go with the Jets this time. I think the Jets will beat the Pats in a very, very tight, low-scoring game. Jets over the Patriots. Key game number 3, going to the AFC West. The Chiefs versus the Chargers. Patrick Mahomes in his last game against the Jaguars, 26-35, 331 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was picked off once in that game. Now Herbert in their last game against the 49ers, 21-35, 196 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. This is crunch time now for the Chargers, and I do mean crunch time. They were fortunate enough to beat the Falcons because going to 5-3 is a little bit better than say going to 4-4, and then you lose the 49ers to be 4-5, and then if you lose this game to the Chiefs, you'll be 4-6 and more than likely be out of the playoff picture. But it is still crunch time for the Chargers because they need to win desperately now. Given the fact that the Chiefs are well ahead in the AFC West, they pretty much have clinched the division. I don't think anybody else in that division. Look, the Chargers had plenty of opportunities, but obviously injuries are killing them right now. And there is huge question. I don't even know if Keenan Allen will play this time around. Especially, I don't even know if Mike Williams will be ready for this game either, coming off his injury. Herbert is missing his top 2 receivers. It's just hard. He had a hard time against the 49ers because the offensive line, once again, didn't protect them. Kansas City pretty much is heavily favored in this one here. And they should be for a good reason because they are the defending AFC West champions and they've had the Chargers number as of late. I don't know what to speak of what the Chargers can do in order to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs here because obviously everybody's got to be healthy. If everybody was healthy on the Chargers, I would give them a chance. But given the way the Chiefs are playing right now, they hardly have any injuries right now. And the way they're playing offensively, I'm picking the Chiefs. The Chargers are just banged up. Their offensive line just can't protect Herbert. And defense-wise, they are missing one of their key players and all. Their secondary is already stretched thin. These two teams have had tremendous football games in the last few seasons. But I just feel that I don't think this game is going to be close. I think the Chiefs win by 10 or 13. The Chargers are just too banged up. I don't see any chance of them winning this one. I'm hoping for an upset because I'm a Charger. Everybody who knows me on a personal level, I always pay attention to the Chargers. But I just don't think it's going to happen in this game here. I think the Chiefs sweep them. Chargers are just too banged up, and I don't give them much of a chance. I have to be realistic here. I want the Chargers to win, but I'm picking the Chiefs. The Chiefs are just going to be too much for the Chargers in this game here. I don't think this game will be close than it has been in most of the games between these two teams. I think the Chiefs beat the Chargers here. I don't think this game will be as close. I think they win by 13, something like that. Chiefs over the Chargers, for me, this hurts me a lot when I say that. So, Chiefs over the Chargers. And finally, key game number 4, a game that I actually want to talk about. Cowboys versus the Vikings. Current line, I haven't said current lines right now because, as like I said, this is Monday, and right now I'm barely posting this up later in the week because obviously I'm very busy at my day job and I got a lot of things personally going on. So the odds will be on the text on the fly. So forgive me for that. I didn't get a chance to write down on my notes. But anyways, talking about the Cowboys and Vikings. Now, Prescott, 27-46, 265 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Kirk Cousins in a big victory from the Bills in that possibly game of the year. Cousins went 30-50, 357 yards, 1 touchdown, but he was also picked 2 times in that game. Who's got the edge in this one here? That's what I wonder, because both these teams are almost evenly matched, to be quite honest with you here. In terms of offense, they are evenly matched. The only thing is, though, the Cowboys kind of do have a little bit of a better defense, but then again, that defense that got shredded by Aaron Rodgers last week. You got to wonder what the Vikings can do to the Cowboys defense. I don't know yet if Ezekiel Elliott is going to play in this game because that's the one thing they were missing last week against the Packers was really the running game of Ezekiel Elliott. So I really don't have any word if he's going to play. You have to keep in the news to find out if Ezekiel Elliott will play. I think he will, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Offense-wise, this is where the Cowboys have to shine here. Minnesota is not the Vikings are not a joke, and they showed it last week against the Bills. It comes down to this. Turnovers. Who can make the big plays? Obviously, Jefferson is going to be huge in this game. You got to give the ball to him, and that's where the Cowboys probably more than likely are going to try to double team him. And especially right now on the Cowboys side, now they got to get the running game going here. It is a tough pick, and this is definitely going to be probably the game of the weekend here for sure. It's definitely going to be a great game between these two teams. Very hard to say how it comes out in terms of offense-wise because both teams are evenly matched on offense. Defense-wise, Cowboys kind of have a better defense. Very, very tough pick here. It is tough to say who wins this game here. But I got to make a pick here. I think the Vikings are going to beat the Cowboys here. I think the Packers may have exposed some of their flaws on defense here with the short pass and all and having a hard time stopping the run. This is definitely going to be a game to watch because it's going to be close. It'll probably be like a 20-17 type of game. It's going to be good. I think the Vikings kind of have I think the Vikings will win this game here. I think they'll be able to get some good passes out of Kirk Cousins to Jefferson and all. And I think they actually did run the ball a bit effectively last week against the Bills. It's a close one. It's a toss-up here. This game's really a toss-up here. I don't know who's going to win this one here, to be honest. But I got to make a pick here. I'm going to go with Minnesota. I think they have the offense that can keep up with the Cowboys, and I think they're going to give the Cowboys defense some fits in this game here. It's going to be close. It's going to come down to a field goal, the way I look at it. That's it. I'm picking the Vikings in this one here. Vikings over the Cowboys. All right, everybody, that wraps up my picks for week number 11. Please check the description below for all my week 11 picks. And I'll talk to you guys next week when I make my picks for week number 12, my Thanksgiving edition. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care and enjoy your football weekend.